Welcome to Lore by Elsa. Here on this channel, we're going to be deep diving into all sorts of true crime, horror, occult, paranormal, everything just creepy, you name it. So I decided to take a new turn for this particular channel to dive into a particular genre that would be otherwise deemed as kind of scary or spooky. My desires go all over the place, but I decide, throughout all the year I always end up circling back to this particular genre. So here we go. Today's topic, we are going to be discussing about Annabelle being on tour called The Devil's on the Run. What if I told you that the world's most infamous haunted doll is no longer locked away? She's on the move, town to town, state to state. This isn't a movie plot. It's happening right now. You might know her from the Conjuring universe, a sinister porcelain doll wreaking havoc. But the real Annabelle is even more disturbing. She's a vintage Raggedy Ann doll said to be possessed by a demonic entity. And for decades, she sat sealed away inside a glass case at the Warren Occult Museum in Connecticut until now. The New England Society for Psychic Research, founded by Ed and Lorraine Warren in 1952, launched earlier this month, May of 2025, by the current members of NESPR. It is the oldest ghost hunting organization in New England. The tour offers a rare opportunity for horror enthusiasts and paranormal aficionados to view Annabelle outside of the now closed Warren Occult Museum in Monroe, Connecticut. The tour commenced with a multi-day event at the West Virginia State Penitentiary in Moundsville from May 8th to the 11th. Subsequent stops have included the Psychic and Spirit Fest at Victoria's Black Swan Inn at San Antonio, Texas, with future locations on tour to include, which I'll provide further details in a later part of this video. The Devil's on the Run tour is NESPR's efforts to raise funds for a new Warren Occult Museum, which the current site in Monroe, Connecticut is now closed due to zoning issues. The tour has sparked both excitement and concern among the public, with some religious leaders and paranormal experts expressing apprehension about moving the allegedly haunted doll from its protective case. Nonetheless, this is a cross-country tour that's bringing Annabelle face-to-face with her fans, to the brave, the curious, and the foolish. Earlier this month, May 13th and the 14th, specifically hosted by Green City Tours in New Orleans, Louisiana, the event took place at their Royal Street location in the French Quarter. Following the appearance, rumors circulated online suggested that Annabelle had gone missing during that tour. These speculations were fueled by her absence at the scheduled event in Louisiana and were further intensified by a fire at the historic Nottoway Resort in White Castle, Louisiana, which some linked to the doll's alleged disappearance. However, these claims were promptly debunked by the New England Society for Psychic Research, otherwise known as NESPR. The tour continued as planned, with Annabelle making appearances at the upcoming stops coming up in July 11th through 13th at Soldiers Orphanage Homestead, Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. October 4th, Rock Island Roadhouse Esoteric Expo in Rock Island, Illinois. and October 17th through the 19th in Lexington, Kentucky. Now, details about this event are still yet to be announced, but it does promise to continue the tourist tradition of visiting historically haunted locations. Now, each location that this tour stops at will have paranormal history already within. And what would prompt NESPR into picking such locations for their tour? So, here's a breakdown of what likely motivates this decision. Again, these are theories. Spiritual synergy. Haunted locations are believed to have heightened paranormal energy. Bringing Annabelle, a vessel allegedly tied to the demonic force, into these already charged environments creates what paranormal investigators call a convergence site, where supernatural activity may intensify. This enhances the authenticity of the experience, appeals to the hardcore paranormal believers who seek spiritual phenomena, encourages more chilling testimonies for future lore. Theatrical atmosphere. Haunted prisons, asylums, cemeteries naturally come with dark ambience, historic tragedy, and eerie aesthetics. These factors elevate the storytelling aspect of the tour. It's not just seeing Annabelle, it's about the feeling of fear. Haunted settings make the entire experience immersive, like a live horror film. Strategic marketing. By visiting haunted locations, NESPR taps into local legends and fan bases already invested in those sites. Tourist economies centered around ghost walks and dark tourism. Media interest, especially when combining two or more paranormal hotspots. It builds buzz, especially on social media, where attendees are more likely to share photos and videos from spooky, photogenic settings. Psychological priming. Visitors arriving at a location known to be haunted are already in a heightened state of emotional and psychological sensitivity. NESPR leverages this to encourage belief in the supernatural, increase the chances of perceived paranormal experiences, validate Annabelle's reputation as a dangerous object, even if no phenomena occur. Honoring Warren legacy. Ed and Lorraine Warren didn't just collect haunted objects, they investigated haunted homes and locations, helping families and everywhere else in between. NESPR bringing Annabelle to these places is a nod to the Warrens' investigation tradition, a symbolic act confronting malevolent energies head on, a demonstration of NESPR's spiritual authority that they can safely bring Annabelle into haunted realms without fear. Now, I'm a person who loves to learn and understand everything arcane, occult-wise, horror, true crime, you name it. But that's if we're going into the like dark genre and stuff like that. Things paranormal, roughly. In my youth, I was somebody who was angry and spiritually lost. Almost who wasn't, Anyhow, I'm not going to get into the full details, but so to speak, I went about things at that time irresponsibly and not so respectfully. Using my experience now from those times, thankfully, I've learned to, be a lot more respectful, especially when diving into all things that I'm not entirely sure what I'm getting into. I'm taking things with the grain of salt prior to any research from multiple sources, of course. And then I tie in with my own experiences in said subject matters, which that will be a subject for another video, which we're going to be talking more about the Devil on the Run tour, everything that was, that is being presented from the Warren Occult Museum onto this tour, you name it. Anyways, here comes the other side of me who remembers an older video of Lorraine Warren, initially stating about these items, just insisting that it not be touched. And even Ed Warren had supported that. But, they've been back and forth, so from the research I've done. So far, knowing this, I mean, it's been really controversial, a bit contradicting between, don't touch these items versus, the times where they just brought Annabelle, for example, on, to lectures, out and about in public. She's, from my understanding, she's not in the glass case, but I don't know what's going on there. Let me try and correct myself here before I go too far in. I will try to find that particular set of lectures, if whether or not that they had her in that glass case during said thing. Otherwise, I did see a video before Lorraine had passed of not to touch these items, and if somebody does, let her know. So with things so back and forth, I mean, I wonder if this is truly honoring Ed and Lorraine Warren's wishes? Is this what they truly wanted? The answer is, could go both ways. So, yes, there's a real and valid opposing argument to the Devil on the Run tour, especially when measured against Lorraine Warren's original warnings and philosophy about handling haunted or demonic artifacts like Annabelle. So here's how the conflict breaks down. Lorraine Warren's warning: never touch the objects. Lorraine, along with Ed, was adamant that cursed or possessed items, especially Annabelle, should never be touched by anyone outside trained handlers. Be secured and sealed, often in a case blessed by clergy. Not to be moved from spiritual containment unless absolutely necessary. They believed these items were not simply haunted curiosities, but conduits for demonic attachment and influence. So yes, transporting them, displaying them, or placing them in proximity to crowds absolutely enters a gray area. Even being near these items is considered a form of spiritual touching, in the language of energy transference or psychic contact. So, by bringing Annabelle to public places, even in a case, NESPR may be violating the spirit of Lorraine's warning, taking risks she herself perhaps would not have sanctioned. I mean, is this truly honoring the Warrens' legacy? It just depends on which part of their legacy you emphasize on. So we're going to go check mark the argument for those who support that, yes, this is truly honoring their legacy. So, such as the Warrens were public educators in the paranormal. Ed even brought Annabelle to lectures, as I said before, and I will include in this video, whether or not that Annabelle was in that case during those lectures. Anyways, moving forward. They believed in bringing awareness to spiritual danger through first-hand experience. The tour might be viewed as a continuation of their mission, with NESPR asserting that precautions are being taken to contain the doll spiritually. Now, for the argument against, which emphasizes that this is not truly honoring the Warrens' legacy. So, here we go. Lorraine's explicit warnings now seem overlooked in favor of spectacle. There's a commercialization of Annabelle. something the Warrens tried to avoid despite media involvement. Moving the doll through multiple spiritually volatile locations may weaken protective blessings, inviting risk to everyone involved. Whatever your stance goes, this is happening. So, how to attend one of these events? Tickets can be found on NESPR's official event page online or through affiliated ticketing platforms. Just look it up on Google and I'm sure you'll find it. I myself have not looked just because I got some things coming up, that throughout the summer I don't think I'll be able to, as much as I would like to myself, with respect towards, the possibility that these things might actually be haunted or, a conduit of sorts. So, I mean, taking everything with a grain of salt here. So I concluded my research as to the answer behind whether or not Ed and Lorraine Warren, during the lectures between the 70s to the 90s, whether or not that they kept Annabelle in the glass case or if they just carried her wherever. And according to some sources that I had found, is that they allegedly did. Again, I take everything with a grain of salt, but I found a contradicting statement from a paranormal investigator named Ryan Bewell. So I apologize if I'm getting the last name pronunciation all debacle, but anyhow, he had stated that Annabelle was never brought to the lectures, and for the fact that there's no photographic evidence of such things. Thank you for stepping into the shadows with me. If the dark, the cryptic, and the hidden truths speak to your soul, don't forget to like, subscribe if you want, share the channel, and join the descent. Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and never trust the surface.